Our next award is the Frank Gotch Award, which is given to a wrestler who, through their athleticism and toughness in the ring, brought a higher level of respect to professional wrestling from both inside and outside the ring. And those characteristics might well be an understatement when referring to the late, great Bruiser Brody. Considered by performers and promoters to be one of the most feared and respected wrestlers in history, Brody began his career in Texas, but as we know, that was just the start. Before being taken from us much too soon, he went on to compete in virtually every desirable wrestling territory in the United States and abroad, climbing the card after card, winning over fan base after fan base with his unmistakable look and his one-of-a-kind, wild and intimidating style. In addition, his take-no-prisoners approach to our business wasn't limited to the ring. He was well known throughout the industry as a shrewd businessman, producer, and booker. Yes, all in all, Bruiser Brody and every aspect of his legacy is what has led him to this award and our well-deserved recognition tonight. Please help me in welcoming the man who will accept this award in Brody's honor, and how fitting is this? The very man who helped add to Brody's infamy as his tag team partner in Japan, accepting the 2018 Frank Gotch Award for the late Bruiser Brody, ladies and gentlemen, Stan Hansen.
Before I bring up the lady that is going to take this award home for Frank, Barbara, I'd just like to say a few things, first about, Frank. And sometimes I call him Bruiser, but most times I call him Frank. We were coming out of, like the song says, Jackson, Mississippi on a Saturday night. We were literally going down Highway 80. And back then, in the early 70s, Mississippi at night was a pretty scary place. So Frank and I were driving shoulder to shoulder. In fact, our shoulders were overlapped a little bit because he had a 240Z. Can you imagine 300-pound guys crammed into a 240Z? Anyway, as we were going out of town, there was a big car full of rednecks came up, and they had us down. They were screaming at us because we had just come from the matches. And back then, people were pissed off. They really took it serious. They didn't like us at all. So they were coming, and so one of them pulled out a gun and showed it to us, he pulled up right beside us, showed us a pistol, And without even stopping, talking, saying anything to each other, we had the windows down because I don't think the air conditioner worked. We both reached down, picked up our guns, stuck it out the window, and we fired about 3 times right up in the air. They went into a big old horseshoe, turned around, spun around, and they went back to Jackson, Mississippi. So that kind of shows the character of Frank. He was a unique guy, and he was an educated guy. First of all, he was, everybody probably knows, but he was a reporter for the Dallas Morning News, which is a huge newspaper. He was a sports writer. He covered a bunch of different high schools. He did a lot of different things before he got into the wrestling business. So he was hungry, and he was a little bit older, he was like 28, I think, when he broke in, which is kind of late. But he was dedicated, and Fritz broke him in, and Doug Summers, somebody mentioned, can you tell me who was training Doug Summers in Dallas? And Doug Summers from Minnesota here, he was putting Frank through the whole grind and everything, and making him take all these stupid bumps that he never ended up taking. So but anyway, I just want to say that we were a great team together because we had a common goal together, to be the very best, to establish ourselves as the very best, to change a style, to develop a style where we would stand out. And Frank was really the guy that had the brains, that thought about it. I just kind of, I was let the promoters, promote. I'll go out and I'll do the best I can in the ring. But Frank was constantly thinking about the business and thinking how he could do better, how he can make a match better. What we could do with Terry and Dory Funk to get them off their backs in Japan. So Frank was always that kind of guy. And it was just an honor for me to be involved with him in a relationship that, business-wise, inside that ring, there wasn't a crack between me and him. We were one unit all the time. And it was just, I was so blessed and fortunate to have somebody like Bruiser Brody as my partner. So anyway, I want to accept this award for him, but I want to present it to Barbara because she needs to come up here and please accept this award, please. The lady that tamed Bruiser Brody.
Well, thank you, Stan, and thank you everyone in this building. What a prestigious award, and what is probably considered the best Hall of Fame in the country. This is, such an honor, 30 years after his untimely death, that he is still being awarded and still remembered, and still the legacy of Bruiser Brody is still out there. I am absolutely amazed the people that still remember. And one of the stories which totally, I was in the Vegas CAC, and this young gentleman came up to me. He was very polite, said he'd read my book, and I looked at him and I said, well, how old are you? He said, 29 years old. This young gentleman, who is in the wrestling profession, was not even born when Frank passed on. And I thought, what a legacy that this gentleman, Bruiser Brody, had left to even some of the younger ones. Because these were, when he passed, there was no YouTube, there was no internet, there was no technology. And now, with the YouTube and technology, all these young people are actually getting in contact with me and telling me about his matches and how they look up to him. And to me, what an honor, what a legacy that he has left. And I'm just overwhelmed when I look around and see everybody out there, and to get this award to take home, and to have Stan, who has always been in touch with me for so long. And then when I see Tony Guerrero, J.J. Dillon, these were people I met 40 years ago when I first met Frank. And it's like to be here and to look around and to see a family and to hear people tell me about my late husband. I am just so overwhelmed. So thank you, the Dan Gable Museum, the Luthers, George Treyers. I'm just, a Hall of Fame is just, I'm overwhelmed, and thank you, and thank each and every one of you for remembering.